Yeah, hi, greetings to everyone. My name is Swapnil Bhaskar, and I'm head of strategy at NEO. And I keep debating with myself, where the market is headed, what investors should do with their investments. So thought, why not to have a discussion with industry experts? So today I have Mr. Raghav Iyengar. He's a chief business officer at Axis Asset Management Company, in short AMC, to have a discussion on the same. And Raghav is a chartered accountant with more than 25 years of experience in the financial industry. I'll just take a pause for Raghav to add to your introduction or
Oh,
anything.
thank you, Swapnil, so much for having me on this program. Yeah, that's that's the constant debate that's playing in my mind also every day as to what's happening. And the markets are so interesting right now. I am an accidental capital markets guy. I had no plans to get into mutual funds. When I graduated out of my CA about 25 years back, I think I went into the normal field. Coincidentally, I got a chance to work in a company which was going public, and then from that time onwards, the excitement of the markets have been with me. Uh, it's been a very interesting journey. Fortunately, the direction has been upward. It's not been a smooth line like the Bombay Pune Expressway, like a smooth thing. You have these ups and downs. And that's what makes it more interesting. Mutual funds that way are a very interesting asset class because you get all buckets of assets that you need. It's not only equity. You can talk a lot about fixed income. You can talk a lot about now REITs, real estate. So many other things are coming. At Axis, we were also early movers in offering international solutions to our customers. No, so there's a lot of stuff that we can do. So yes, I'm so happy to be with you, Swapnil, today, and hope we have a good conversation, which will benefit our viewers.
Yeah, thanks, Raghav. So let's get started without wasting any further time on anything. So first, I want to discuss about the current market scenario, right? Like in the recent memory, the first thing which comes to my mind is that steep fall in the market, which was of the range of 30-40% during the first wave
Correct,
of COVID, right? Which
correct.
was March, April last year,
Last year, correct.
and everyone at that point of time guessing a lot of things. But now we see that recovery is not just v shape, but market has been on a bull run since then.
Yes,
And we have seen record number of retail trading accounts getting opened. A lot of many new customers are investing in mutual funds, and all the advertisements during the T20 and all those things, mutual funds say yeah. So lot of things happening, and in such bull run, even we have seen some weaknesses in the market couple of times in the last 1.5 years. And I think recent one, last couple of weeks, where the market is down about 10% or so from the top. And in all these scenarios with this context, here there's one school of market experts who think with the latest Omicron, the COVID variant can be a trigger for a similar kind of a steep drop as what happened during the first wave of COVID. Then another school of experts, they say no, such a drop won't happen because there was no drop or such a decline during the second wave of COVID.
absolutely,
And
absolutely,
people are trying to see COVID as a kind of a part and parcel of our lives, and so
absolutely,
market will continue with its run, right?
absolutely. Yes,
Second thing was like markets are also expecting that this economy to accelerate given the unlocking of or removing of all those artificial restrictions which were put during these waves. And
right,
I think my opinion is also of similar to second school. However, there can be steep drop in the short term. Who knows? I can't
yes,
speculate about it, and that's
absolutely.
why I want to have this discussion. I am bullish on India for its favorable macro fundamentals in the long term and all those things. And that's the reason, just to put the disclaimer out, that my investments and the mutual funds are intact.
Right.
So I request you now to see in your crystal ball and let us know how do you see, or your views on the market. What do you say recommend to investors?
So I think thanks, Swapnil. So very interesting points, many points you've raised. I think the first point I like to make is that market is the expert. There is no expert who can predict the market. So I think the market itself is something that it's a collection of various views, right? And that's what makes it interesting. Like you rightly mentioned, there are a set of people who think that this is a very passing phase, this will blow over. There are a set of people who think, no, this is the start of something very large. But just let's step back for 2 minutes from the current situation and say, what does the market denominate? Ultimately, the market is nothing but the share prices of companies who are functioning in the economy.
Yeah.
And last year, if you remember, the steep fall which happened was possibly once in a century experience. I pray to God that we don't have that kind of an impact. I mean, we don't have a COVID wave again. It's not yet over, but hopefully we should not have another. The last time this we had such a big contagion was in the early 19th century, almost 100 years back. So obviously, governments, companies, everybody was at a bit of a shock as to how to manage this. I mean, we have managed financial crisis, we have managed natural disasters, but this is like a worldwide health disaster. So obviously, everybody did the same thing. If you remember, in our childhood days, we used to play this game called Statue. So
Yeah.
everybody went and did statue and said everybody freeze. So what happened? The entire economy froze. Now obviously the market will obviously reflect that immediately, and that's what led to that precipitous fall. And then as and when things started getting better, things started slowly, gradually opening up. Things started coming back. People readjusted to the new normal. People got used to working from home. People were able to function reasonably well. Banks were functioning well. Nobody collapsed. Everybody in March, if you remember, there was a school of people who were saying, "That's it. We have
Yeah.
gone back to the Stone Age." And people had the same view about mutual funds, saying that now your industry is finished. You see, there are no investors left. Everybody will pull out money. Markets will go further down. FIs are running away. All that. So, and unfortunately, news is of the day, right? So it reflects that current day thing. It doesn't talk too much about what is going to be there. That is our job. And of course, from there on, as things gradually improved, the market took a turn up. And market is always a couple of steps ahead of the actual event in that sense. So when things started opening up gradually, it took it as a sign that everything is back to normal, and you saw that huge V-shaped recovery which happened.
Yeah.
Now, there interestingly, I think three, four things have broadly changed in our life forever. I think one is with the advent of which happened about 4 years back, which was the demonetization. The usage of cash has come down.
Yeah.
Even though cash in the system is very high today because of typically marriage reasons, festival reasons. Right now, if you go and look at the RBI money supply, it's there, but people are now very comfortable paying either through wallet or through UPI or whatever. And the government has created this beautiful UPI system which works extremely efficiently across the country. I was
Yeah.
in Rajasthan a month back in a border town, and you won't believe I paid for a cup of tea with a UPI transaction there because I didn't have change. So it was an amazing
Yeah.
instance. The guy had I had to pay for me and my wife and my driver, and I had to pay some 40, $50, and I didn't have change. Unfortunately, the ATMs dispense only 500 rupee notes to it. So he said, "Saab chutta nahi hai." And I asked him, and he said, "Sir, aap phone pay karo." No, sorry, he said Paytm karo. So I showed, and it worked beautifully. So I think that's one big one. The GST has made life much, much more transparent. Thirdly, of course, is this whole move to work from home. This little instrument that we have now, the mobile phone. I think everything is here. You don't need to be in Bombay or Bangalore or Calcutta. You can be sitting any part of the country and be as efficient as possible.
Yeah.
What this has also done is that it has made us far more efficient. So there is, in some sense, Swapnil, a bit of a K-shaped recovery. Companies who have been able to adjust to it, adapt to it, and profit from it, their valuations are doing very well. And that is why if you see today, a lot of the new age companies, in fact, India just completed its 41st unicorn this Monday.
Yeah.
So it's an amazing experience. I mean, in the sense that these are guys who are doing some cutting edge stuff. They're not really worried about next quarter. They are really trying to disrupt 1 year, 2 year, 3 year down. Something like what Neo is trying to do today.
Yes. Yeah.
And they are attracting great amounts of capital. So in some sense, we are in a bit of a flux right now. We have the old economy, the old companies. We're all doing very well, and you have the new companies also coming in, and that's exactly what the FI investor is also looking at.
Hmm.
That there is this new breed of companies. In fact, 2 years back, if you remember, there are a very narrow set of companies which are actually driving the market.
Yeah.
If you made money, if you were in those companies, you actually made money. If you were in the broad market, you got finished.
Yeah.
Last 2 years, thanks to COVID, liquidity, things getting better, interest rates coming down, demand picking up, a lot of those companies, the market has become much more broad based. So at Axis, for example, we used to monitor about 250 odd companies in our entire portfolio, large cap, mid cap, small cap. In the last 1 year, that number has gone up to close to 400 because many of those new companies, one, so there are a lot of new guys who have come in. Number two, a lot of the earlier companies have actually repaired their balance sheets very well and are now suitable for research from our side. So we have, as like everybody else, we have a very, very strong process which filters stocks at the initial stage itself. The industry, as you know, has 6 or 8,000 stocks. We can't do everything because we are firmly of the belief
Mhm.
that if you are in the right stock and you bear for a long period of time or in the right business, that will make money for you.
Yeah.
So coming back to markets, I think today, I mean, Omnicom or whatever it is, sounds like a Transformers movie. I don't know how many of us have remember Transformers.
Yeah, yeah.
Sounds like one of those movies from there, and for whatever reason, as of now, again, there are restrictions coming in. So only thing is the restrictions are not crippling. It's not like a complete lockdown. It is more RT-PCR. It is more of quarantine and things like that. And obviously, that will put a bit of a slowdown initially. So markets may be in this mode for some period of time till things get back to normal.
Yeah.
And so far, I think we are comparing apples and oranges. We are comparing Europe and India. I think
Mhm.
Europe, I think one, they had a different vaccine. Number two, a lot of them are not yet fully vaccinated
Mm.
for whatever reason. In our case, I think the vaccination drive has been a very, very big success. And this is something we said in Axis Mutual Fund 5 months back that the economy will do well or not well depending on the pace of the vaccine.
Yeah.
And if you remember in April, May, we did have some shortages and all that stuff was happening.
Yes.
But now I think clearly the industry and the government have really fixed that problem. I think vaccines are in surplus right now. We are actually exporting vaccines. So I think that part, if as long as that process continues with the same level of momentum and we are able to take care of ourselves in the sense distancing as much as possible, masks, etc., and having some control over socialization, I don't think this will blow out to be a very big pandemic. If that happens, then I think you should take this next couple of months of breather, which the market is going to take a bit of wait and watch. And then maybe if you are underinvested in equity or you're waiting for a correction,
Mhm.
whenever you see a meaningful correction, now what is meaningful, I don't know. Some
Right.
of my friends put money when the market is down 500 points, somebody waits for 1,000 point correction. But that's, as I said, that's just a collection of stocks. There are many stocks which are way below their 52-week highs right now. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of attractive businesses available. So all in all, I think India is a great destination today. Uh, of course, if there is a super mutant variant of COVID, we have a problem. In fact, two big risks I can flag off today, both of which, frankly, you and I can do nothing about. One is COVID. We can just take
Yeah.
precautions ourselves. Number two is climate change, which, like at least I was in Bombay yesterday and it suddenly started pouring and you had, rain throughout the day. Very, very weird. I mean, in the sense, December never rains. I mean, it's actually cold. So this is something which is going to keep moving stuff. And then of course you have this whole geopolitical challenge between US and China, and in some sense, any fallout of that, either in the form of supply constraints or in the form of sanctions or something, we could get stuck. But if you ask me, you can't do anything about the first two.
Yeah.
Second one, the last one, you just invest in good quality businesses, and
Absolutely.
I'm reasonably sure the managements there will ensure that they give you a good return. But so if you were to take a crystal ball view, Swapnil, I think if I were to look at 23, 24, I think we are pretty much in good shape there. What will happen over the next 90 days, 120 days, difficult to call, especially given this new virus is there. The last point I'd like to make is that markets are not cheap anymore. They are relatively very fairly priced.
Mm.
So any disappointments in any results or anything like what happened last Friday when the Omnicom came out will lead to a swift and sharp correction.
Yeah.
It's the easiest thing, and many people tell me, how do you manage to invest? I say, yeah, the most difficult part of investing is when to sell, not when to buy. So most people today are sitting on the side thinking that, hey, now it's going to correct, and actually they've been unfortunately waiting all the way from 30,000 to 60,000.
Yeah.
They got the first wave beautifully right. If you ask me, many investors came back in March, April, May when that first 15%, and they caught it all the way up to 25, 30,000. And somewhere between 30 and 40, depending on their mood at that time, they said, Abhi ho gaya, 30,000 is the top and 35,000 is the top, but nothing is the top. I
Right.
mean, as you mentioned in the start of the call, I've spent 25 years in this business. When I started, the BSE was close to 300 points. That way, I should not be investing in the market at all because it's gone up almost what 20 times. No, sorry, 200 times from there.
So,
So every time the market tops have been there. So I have realized there's no point in timing it. You just keep a little bit of your asset allocation. Make sure that you're well invested across good companies. I think just being invested in equity is not the only thing. You have to be invested in good quality equities. If you can't invest on your own, find a good fund manager. There are many people like Axis. We are doing very well. I mean, and that's something. One reason, we're very happy to partner with anybody. And if you look at us, I think we have a pretty consistent long-term track record. If,
yeah.
and give us the money, we'll manage it for you with our process. But don't be out of the market because it's hit some fictitious 60,000 or 50,000. These numbers are meaningless, right? Because they just represent the economy.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, yeah, I like totally, got your point. And in between, you also mentioned, if like we are underinvested in equity,
Yeah,
and now like say if there is some kind of market taking breather, or maybe I just want to invest for the long term when we see say 3, 4 years, 5 years down the line and things like that. So there are now, this is one side, and second side, SEBI has also defined some categories of the
yeah,
funds.
yeah, yeah,
And as an investor, then it becomes difficult for me to understand those categories.
yeah.
I'm under invested in equity. I want to invest in equity, and then there are multiple categories to
Choices
invest in
available. Yeah,
within equity. Right. So I was looking at the multi-cap as a
yeah.
category, one of those categories, and I'll will have some kind of a comparison with other categories as well. But like just wanted to have an understanding about this multi-cap fund as such, like this particular category. How does it work? Like, what's the strategy for this fund?
Actually, it's a new category. So it just came out. Multi-cap funds have been around actually for the last 3, 4 years.
Hmm.
Uh, they got rebranded as flexi cap funds. So the earlier multi cap was that you allowed the fund manager, if anybody has played a game of chess, if you see the queen can literally go wherever on the board, right? You can
Yeah.
go up, down, all over. Whereas all the other pieces have their own rules. The queen has no rule. I mean, so in that sense, the earlier multi cap used to be like that. That category is now called the flexi cap category.
Okay.
The
Okay.
new multi-cap category is very clearly rule-based. So you
Mhm.
have to have, and I mean have to, this is by regulation, 25% in large cap companies. Now, what are large cap companies? Any company which has a market capitalization of more than 30,000 crores, roughly,
Mhm.
qualifies as a large cap company. They are roughly the top 100 companies fit in that. Then you have 101 to 250, which is the mid cap companies. These are companies from roughly 10,000 crores to 30,000 crores. And then that's about another 150 companies. And then the balance are typically small cap companies, which is less than 10,000 crores.
Okay.
So in the multi-cap space, the regulator has clearly said in your fund, it has to be an Indian fund. You cannot put any foreign equity into it, unlike some of our other offerings, like we have ESG, special situations, growth opportunities, where we have a mix of Indian and domestic equities. This has to be 100% Indian.
Okay. Understood.
Balance 25% is actually being given to the fund manager to decide wherever he or she wants to and whatever allocation to whichever capitalization you want.
Understood.
So in some sense, this is like a fill it, cut it, forget it.
Hmm.
Don't, because most of the questions that I get when I go out, and I've done a lot of road shows in the last couple of weeks. I mean, I've met more than 1,000 partners, many investors, and they all keep telling me, "Sir, is small cap has run up too much in the last 1 year. What should I do? Mid cap has got done okay. Large cap is not done too well. Should I shift from a large cap fund to an index fund?" So all those questions, in some sense, get answered in the construct of this product.
Right.
Because you as an investor, you get meaningful allocation, that is sizable allocation to all. Now, somebody asked me, you can do the same thing in a flexi cap fund. Yes, you can. But most fund managers, as the fund gets larger, it becomes a large cap plus fund because
Hmm.
they need to manage the liquidity, they need to plan, because in some sense, it is a slightly less riskier category.
Hmm.
So if someone were to ask me, Raghav, which is the first fund I should invest in, I would say you could either look at a large cap fund or a flexi cap. They
Understood.
will give you a, because they are largely in the large space. So typically what happens is if you invest in a well-established company, it's very rare that the company will have too much fluctuation in the stock price. Can it
Yeah.
happen? Of course it can. Because
Hmm.
of ownership, because of trends, it can. Can a large cap company fall 20%? Of course it can. I mean, there's nothing that prevents it, but normally doesn't happen because they are very well established, well covered companies, and somebody or the other will find value and pick it up. Not the case with mid cap, small cap. Mid cap, small cap, as the name denotes, has a much lower market capitalization. So the
Hmm.
liquidity is much lower. So small buy sell moves can amplify the price. Same
Yeah.
thing happens with mid cap also. So in some sense, if somebody wants meaningful allocation, they have to profit. Now to get that meaningful, now what do you so isko paane ke liye, what do you have to lose?
Hmm.
What you lose is time.
Yeah.
You have to have at least a 3 year plus minimum. In fact, I would either say a 5 year holding in today's value.
Understood.
You can put this money away for 5 years, or you can start a SIP and forget about it. This is a great product. But if you're coming for a couple of years and all, at this valuation, it's a bit of a call. I mean, maybe as I said we were discussing in the beginning, there is an India story happening. Maybe India will do very well over the next 2, 3 years. But having said that, like there are parts of the market which also feel that COVID is not yet fully gone. There are challenges in India. We all know them. You know, we are a democracy. Governments will come, governments will go. They will do certain things, and that also adds a little bit to the whole investment equation. If I were to look at India versus China, they always have that. I say China is an autocratic country. There is
Yeah.
no election as such. We are a vibrant democracy. So that also has its own mix into the politics and everything. So you will have choppiness. So one doesn't know uh, how economy will be. Or if you take it over a period of time, will India grow to be a $5 trillion economy? Definitely. Will it happen in hopefully in our lifetime? Definitely. Will the path be smooth? I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
understood. So
Stock
you
market.
mentioned, yeah,
So
sorry, please
sorry,
continue.
I'm so sorry. So just my last comment on that.
Yeah.
So if you have a sort of a fill it, shut it mentality, you don't have the ability to rejig your portfolios.
Hmm.
You don't have access to good quality advice, or you're a genuinely busy, lazy guy like me.
Hmm.
I'm extremely lazy personally. I don't look at my investments. Once in a year, my CA will pull it out and say, "Look at your Form 26 AS and stuff like that." So most of the money I have made, Swapnil, is just buy and hold.
Yeah.
And is it the most optimum strategy? I don't think so. A lot of my friends in the industry, people like you, have done much better. But frankly, that is me. That's where we are right now. Sorry, you were saying something.
Yeah. So I understood your point, and so basically, you mentioned, the large cap is there, then there's a flexi cap is there, then there's a multi cap, and the way I have understood is that in flexi cap, the fund manager has all the freedom to allocate to either large cap, mid cap,
Absolutely,
small cap,
absolutely.
and in multi cap there is some minimum
Yes,
has to be capped in large cap, mid cap, and small cap.
absolutely, absolutely.
And I think this is multi-cap is becoming more for the people who have some views that I have to keep some sort of balance around all the capitalization,
Absolutely.
have a
Absolutely.
broader allocation
Absolutely.
in the market, irrespective of what a fund manager thinks. They can do their own top up on, say, large cap, mid cap, whatever that flexibility is there in multi cap, depending on the markets and all those things. But there will always be some minimum into mid cap, small cap, large
Absolutely.
cap, right?
Sizable minimum. I mean,
Yeah,
25%.
exactly.
I mean,
25.
any fund, any scheme which has a 50% minimum allocation to mid and small, so sizable allocation in today's market. I mean, I don't know whether many fund managers will be wanting to do it in a flexi cap fund.
Yeah,
Even when valuations of mid cap and small cap were very reasonable 2 years back, I didn't see that kind of allocations going in any of the flexi cap funds
yeah,
because they are meant for an audience which has a slightly more stable investment experience. They want that. They
got it.
they don't want that volatility. This will have volatility. So this is actually a great fund to also do an SIP, a multi-cap. I
Understood.
mean, the Access multi-cap fund, we're doing an NFO now. So it's a, so people say you have an excellent small cap, you have an excellent mid cap,
Hmm.
you have excellent large cap. Why don't we just put 33, 33, 33? I said, yeah, you can do that.
Right.
But do you have the mental ability then after 1 or 2 years to keep rebalancing it? If
Yeah.
you can do that, then please do it. It's the same thing because the idea in Access Multicap is to put our best ideas in this multi-cap fund. So the top maybe 10, 15 best ideas in the mid, large, small cap space. It's a compact portfolio will be 50, 60, 70 stocks. Um, and I think if you give it time, I think it will do very well. So it's
Understood. So this is like a 3 to 5 plus years plus kind of a thing. SIP, more of a SIP, have a
SIP, you can do lump
patience.
sum if you're not exposed to, let's say many people are very uncomfortable swapping, just going and buying a small cap fund.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
they feel that it's very risky and all. But you need small cap in your portfolio.
Hmm.
Because ultimately these are the companies that will give you the multi-bagger returns.
Got it.
And but it needs a fair amount of research. It needs a fair amount of discipline. Like we did a small a study of the top 500 companies, and out
Hmm.
of the 100 over the last 10 years, out of 100 large cap companies, only 61 remain large cap. In fact, 25 actually went down to mid cap.
Wow.
In
Okay.
the mid cap space, we did it for 150 companies, and we found only 75 companies are actually in the mid cap space. Only 15 managed to go up.
Hmm.
Actually, almost 45 went down,
Hmm.
and 10 went out of existence. I mean, they got bought, sold, acquired. In the small cap space, it was even more scary. Out of 250 companies, hardly 40 went to mid cap,
Hmm.
and many of them was continuing to be small cap. And about 50 of them actually again went out of existence.
Mhm.
So it's a very interesting thing. So, it's people think in today's world, and obviously market is doing well, they feel it's easier to just buy any company and do it. But that's not the case. I mean, you have to find a good sustainable business which has a set of which is differentiating itself from the competition, and at the same time has enough runway for it to grow over a period of time. And that is the beauty of multi-cap, access multi-cap. Now, I can buy a company when it's small cap, it can go into mid cap, and then it can go into large cap, all in the same fund.
Got it.
If I
So
were to if I were to buy it in my small cap fund, once it becomes a mid cap, I need to knock it off.
yeah, yeah,
Or if I buy a mid cap stock and it becomes a large cap, I have a certain small allocation I can keep, but majority of
understood.
the portfolio has to be in mid and small. So once it reaches a particular size, I'll have to sell it off.
Yes,
Whereas
yes.
in this fund, the fund manager has the flexibility with the balance 25%. So he can swing it uh, depending on how the allocation goes. So in some sense, you can actually see the full investment journey of a small cap company becoming a large cap company. And I hope in this kind of a scheme without doing anything to it. I mean,
Yeah, that's a very interesting take here. And perhaps at some point of time, maybe mutual fund companies can start investing in startups. So from a startup
yeah,
to
yeah, you can go all the way. You can go all the way. Yeah, yeah, of course.
so, so just
So,
a
I, so
just a
access,
thought out
so,
there.
we are allowed to put money in startups, but not under mutual fund. In fact, we are in the process of closing a startup fund, late stage equity fund, under
Mhm.
our AI platform.
Okay,
It is operated under Access Asset Management only, but it has a completely different set of people managing it.
okay,
So the guys
understood.
who manage our regular equity and the guys who manage that, because it obviously involves a very different skill set. But you're right, ultimate the currency is the same. It is ultimately equity. So yes, yeah.
So now I've understood this multi-cap thing in comparison with the flexi cap and all. Just one question which came to my mind, in the sense, we talked about this bull run, V-shaped recovery, and all those things. And that just brings me to the question: ki, in terms of valuation and all those things, are there enough opportunities in mid cap and small cap, given this market scenario, or are we just talking about today? Maybe 3 years, 5 years down the line, whatever you find today, out of these mid cap, small cap, do they have potential to become really big the way you describe mid cap to maybe large cap?
That's a lovely question, Swapnil, because this question is so apt because 2 years back, actually most of the market was in a set of 30 stocks
Hmm.
or 30 to 40 stocks, and those 40 odd stocks actually gave you the returns. In fact, if you're not in those 40, 50 stocks, mostly you would have either had a flat return or you would have maybe even have had negative return. A good thing, thanks to COVID, liquidity, China plus one, because people want to diversify away from China, lots of people getting in here. So if you remember, the two big challenges for mid and small cap have always been access to capital and access to talent, right? I mean, if I'm a startup, I'm always fighting the larger boys for talent. Today,
Yeah.
especially in the last 1 year, that story has got much lesser. So good companies, even though they are not known, may not be established, if they have a good business model, they are able to get very good capital. Especially, they have so many private equity funds and lots of Indian investors are also putting money into companies like that. So that's one big thing, and it's coming in the form of equity capital, which is the best form of capital for a startup or for a growing company. So that's a growing company needs growth capital, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And second part, obviously, you need people to execute the vision. You may have the best product, you may have the best thing, but if you don't have a proper delivery execution, you're in trouble. That again is okay because in today's world, especially with my young friends out there, people who are starting life, I don't think that the brand attracts them as much as the excitement of going and working for a startup. Yes, there are a lot of people who like to work for a big brand, and but there are enough people now who are willing to say, okay, let me go try this out.
Yes.
If I'm getting some sweat equity, I'm getting reasonably. I may not be getting the maybe not enough money, but I'm happy to get a stake in the company.
Yeah.
And there are enough success stories of how 25, 27, 30-year-old people are really doing so well today. That's
Yeah.
because of a risk they've taken in their life. So I think if you keep those two factors in mind, I think we have a massive runway of companies coming up. Massive runway of companies. Now, obviously, what can puncture it? Obviously, the first thing is liquidity.
Hmm.
Obviously, there's a big pullout of liquidity, and people say this whole startup funding dries up. My guess is it will not. I think today it's much easier to get capital, but even if, let us say, the flows come down for whatever reason, other places start attracting capital, I think a good idea will continue to get good players. And India has developed a beautiful ecosystem now to be able to attract. So we are pretty much on the world startup map today. Like how we were on the world, we've been on the world IT map for a long period of time. I think today there are many startup funds which are just completely focused on India today as an investment destination. So I think that will happen. I think people, fortunately, that's one of the positives in our country. We have a set of people. We have the highest speaking English language in the world, number of people, and that will always continuously give us a level of talent. So I guess we are okay there. Yes, but one needs to be careful because, as I said, it's you're really gauging businesses, and obviously price is secondary. The key thing for us today, Swapnil, is are we getting the right business? Is the management treating minority shareholders well? Do they have a good business plan? How have they been executing? Those are things that we look at. Price is just an outcome of it. So it's okay if you pay a little more price for any of these a good quality company. That's okay.
Understood.
But
Yeah, I think fair point. And even in my own experience, when I started investing, I just graduated from the college, and it was 2007. And just after that, it was all financial crisis and everything. I started my SIPs towards the end of 2007, and since then I haven't stopped. And
perfect.
with the same belief, what you also mentioned, that just take a long-term view, keep doing the SIPs, because see, any salaried person will get money every month, right?
Perfect.
They can
Perfect.
just put aside some money, keep
Absolutely.
investing, and these businesses will grow, and your money will also grow accordingly, right? So
Absolutely.
with that,
Absolutely.
someone told me at that point of time, and I just stuck with that, and it's like almost more than 14
No, no,
years.
it's a very simple equation. So, I mean, when people ask me what to do, I said, yeah, if you can save 30% of your money for 30 years, I think you are sorted for the remaining 30.
Absolutely.
At a 12% CAGR, you're absolutely fine. So, many people say, how do I retire? I said, you retire, you can get yourself an enough of a egg. And once you get a certain amount of money, trust me, that itself is independent. Then it allows you to take decisions which you would have not normally taken if you didn't have that money.
Yeah.
So somewhere, yeah, wealth is a good independence lock for you. It's a good key to unlock your independence. And the faster you start, like how you started, and more importantly, continue,
Yeah.
because that's the critical part. Because most people they start it and then they tend to stop. The first thing that gets smashed in any problem is, hey, my savings में से मैं मेरा SIP बंद कर दूं.
Yeah.
Which
Right.
is actually the worst thing to do because actually that is the best time to buy equity. So I know many, many, many friends of mine who stopped their SIPs in 2013 and unfortunately withdrew money also.
Uh-huh.
That was just before the 2014 election, the worst part of the market. There was a lot of doom and gloom, Indian fiscal
Yeah.
deficit had gone. And it was very sad because they went through the painful parts. And then, you have seen what happened. So up in 14 to now, we've had a very, very good run. So if they just continued keeping money, I think life would have been better. So I think that's the key thing. Just maintain that discipline and your life is sorted.
Understood. All. Thanks, Raghav,
Thank
and
you.
that
Thank
was
you so
great
much.
discussion with you. In the end, anything you want to add further to our discussion? Any impromptu or any advice or
No, I think it's a I
your
think
mind?
it's a I think it's a simple business. If you follow that 30% rule, because I know a lot of your viewers are millennials, they're people who are just starting life, and if you can just get your savings in order first, that's critical. And put it in the beginning of the month. I mean, that's the beauty of SIPs. Don't wait for the end of the month. My personal failure is that I waited for the end of the month and said, "What, jo bhi bachega, whatever is left over, I will save."
Right. Yeah.
Uh, I didn't have, of course, when I started life 25 years back, we didn't have the kind of consumption opportunities you have today.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it was a little easier for me to save. But had I done the reverse, had I said, "Hey, okay, out of my 1,000 rupees, had I saved 300 and spent 700, I'm telling you, I would have been far, far more financially well off. But I'm lucky in that sense. God has been kind. I've been in a growth industry. I've been in a set of great companies. Access is a wonderful place to invest your money. So that way, yes, I've been fortunate, and I hope that your investment journey also is as fortunate as mine.
Yeah, yeah. And if we want to talk about someone who's just entering into the workforce or just a like first time job and just starting up the career, what's
Three things. I think one is
common
quick,
advice?
quick one is to get first get yourself your life insurance done.
Hmm.
Get a term plan done because at a younger age the premiums are very very less. Number two is get yourself a very good health policy. Again, premiums are very less. The faster you start, the better it is for you. And then number three is please put this 25-30% that you can. Now people will say, "Hey boss, that means you're taking away 45% of your money going to savings." Yes, you please tighten your belt for the first 5, 7, 10 years of your life. Many people make this mistake also, Swapnil, that they tend to try and buy a house immediately. I think sometimes in my career, I have seen many people who are unable to move in their life because they are stuck. They've already bought a house and they're already staying there. They don't have the freedom to go into another city, and that's actually disrupted their career, their move, and everything. So a house is something now in today's world, given the supply and everywhere. I think when you're young, till you are at an age where you've completed 15, 20 years and you know where you want to stay, given your family and everything else, that's the time to actually put down some roots. If you put down roots very early, it actually sometimes acts, it's a reverse because you are not able to take advantage of any opportunity. I've seen many people who were not able to shift, for example, to Bombay because they had already bought a house and it was difficult for them to maintain two places. So don't
Yeah.
do that. So uh, life, health, and then obviously get your equity savings up immediately. And yes, tighten your belts. First 5 years, trust me, if you tighten your belts, you will thank both of us someday. Yes,
Super advice,
thank you.
and thank you a lot about this discussion and a lot of learning today as well. And it
Thank you.
was great to have you with us.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
Thank you.